Have you ever found yourself asking, why is my life filled with so much struggle? Why does every step forward feel like pushing through a storm? These questions often linger in the quiet moments, when the weight of your challenges becomes almost too heavy to bear. It's in these moments of despair that the pain of your circumstances speaks the loudest, filling your heart with doubts and your mind with fears. But have you ever considered that these struggles are not meaningless? That the pain you endure may be the very voice of God calling you to something greater? In your journey, it might feel as if nothing has come easily. Every success you've achieved feels like it was born out of a battle, leaving you exhausted, wondering if the fight will ever end. But what if I told you that these battles are not just random occurrences or punishments for past mistakes? What if the relentless challenges you face are not because of what lies behind you, but because of the greatness that lies ahead? The enemy sees the incredible potential that God has placed within you, potential that could shake the very foundations of darkness. He sees the transformation that God is preparing for your life, a transformation that will not only change you but also inspire and uplift those around you. But why does it have to hurt so much? Why does the path to your destiny seem to be paved with pain? Because it is through pain that we are often most deeply transformed. The struggles you face are not there to destroy you, but to refine you, to burn away the dross and reveal the pure gold of your character. They are the fires in which your true strength is forged. Every tear, every heartache, every sleepless night is a part of this divine process. The enemy knows that if you realize your true potential, his plans will crumble. That's why he tries to discourage you, to make you feel like giving up. But remember, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Have you ever felt that yearning deep inside? A desire for something more? A longing for a breakthrough that seems just out of reach? That is your soul recognizing the greatness that God has destined for you. It's a sign that you were made for more than the struggles you face today. It's an indication that you are on the brink of something extraordinary, a victory that will be so significant that it will redefine your life. But this victory can only be attained if you persevere, if you hold on to the faith that God has a plan for you, a plan to prosper you, to give you hope and a future. As you reflect on these words, know that you are not alone in your struggle. Every battle you face is seen by God, and He is with you in every trial. The pain you feel is not a sign of abandonment, but rather a testament to the fact that you are being prepared for something far greater than you can imagine. So, stay with me. Don't let go. This message is just the beginning of the hope that God wants to pour into your life. Together, we can navigate these stormy seas, guided by the assurance that God's purpose for your life will not be thwarted by the enemy's schemes. If this message speaks to the deep places of your heart, if it resonates with the silent cries of your soul, please take a moment to like this video and leave your first name in the comments so that I can lift you up in prayer. Your engagement not only helps this message reach others who need it, but it also creates a community of faith where we can support and encourage each other. Let's journey together through the challenges, with our eyes fixed on the victory that God has promised. More content is coming that will continue to inspire and strengthen you as we walk this path of faith. Stay with us, because God is not finished with you yet, He's just getting started. Let me hear a blessed from you all. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast ocean, waves crashing at your feet, each wave representing a challenge, a battle that you must face. In this moment, you might wonder, how much more can I endure? It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to think that the relentless tide of life's hardships might sweep you away. But as C.S. Lewis once observed, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. This is a profound truth we must hold on to in the face of our greatest struggles. In Romans 8 verse 38 to 39, Paul declares with unwavering confidence that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation, will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. This powerful passage isn't just a statement of faith, it's a battle cry. It affirms that no matter what spiritual or earthly trials we face, nothing can sever us from God's love. Yet, why do we sometimes feel so distant from this truth? Perhaps the answer lies in understanding the nature of our battles. The struggles we encounter are not merely against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces that seek to derail our faith. C.S. Lewis, in the Screwtape Letters, illustrates how subtle temptations and doubts can chip away at our resolve, making us feel as though we're fighting alone. But we are never alone. God equips us with spiritual armor: truth, righteousness, faith, salvation, and the Word, each piece designed to protect and empower us in the face of adversity. Think of your life as a narrative, penned by the greatest author of all. There may be chapters filled with sorrow, uncertainty, and fear, but the story isn't over. Every trial you endure is like a plot twist, essential to the development of your character and the fulfillment of your ultimate purpose. C.S. Lewis wrote, "We are not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us, we are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be." This reflection invites us to trust in the process, even when it seems painful or confusing. Just as a sculptor chisels away at a block of marble to reveal a magnificent statue, so too does God shape us through our struggles. Every challenge is a chisel stroke, carving out the person we are meant to become. The process may be arduous, and at times we may only see the rough edges, but God sees the masterpiece within. How might your current struggles be shaping you? What beauty is God revealing in you through this process? So, as you stand before the waves of life, remember this: you are not alone. The armor of God is your shield, His word your sword, and His love the unbreakable bond that holds you secure. Endure the trials, for they are part of the masterpiece God is creating in you. Trust in His plan, even when the outcome is unclear. With every wave that crashes, know that God is crafting something extraordinary in your life. Keep faith, for your true purpose is being revealed. The story of Moses is one of perseverance, faith, and divine intervention. As we reflect on Exodus 14 verse 21 to 22, we see Moses stretching out his hand over the sea, an act of obedience that God used to part the waters, allowing the Israelites to cross on dry land. Imagine the sight: the sea forming walls on either side, a clear path through what seemed an impossible obstacle. Yet, Moses wasn't always seen as the great leader we now recognize. He faced skepticism, doubt, and even open resistance from those he was called to lead. How often do we, too, feel unsupported or overwhelmed by the enormity of the challenges before us? C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny." Like Moses, who saw himself as just another man, many of us may underestimate the significance of our trials. Moses didn't fully understand why he was chosen or what lay ahead, but his story illustrates a profound truth: God uses our struggles to mold us into who we are meant to be. Have you ever wondered why you face so many challenges? Could it be that your adversities are not just random events, but deliberate preparations for a greater purpose? Consider the Egyptians, who pursued the Israelites relentlessly. They were not merely chasing after runaway slaves, they were driven by a deeper fear of the potential that God had placed within His people. Your enemy, too, recognizes the greatness within you, the plans God has set in motion long before you were aware of them. This is why the journey is fraught with difficulties, because the enemy seeks to discourage you before you can step into the fullness of what God has for you. Romans 8 verse 28 reminds us that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Every hardship, every desert experience, every moment of doubt is a tool in God's hands, shaping you for your future. Moses' life, from his years in Pharaoh's palace to his time as a shepherd in the wilderness, was a series of preparatory steps, each challenge forging his character, his resolve, and his faith. In the end, it wasn't just Moses who benefited from these trials. The entire nation of Israel was led to freedom and into the promised land because of his perseverance and God's unwavering guidance. As you reflect on Moses' journey, ask yourself, what trials are you facing today, and how might they be preparing you for something greater? Can you trust that the difficulties you encounter are not just obstacles but are, in fact, divine appointments meant to prepare you for your destiny? Like Moses, you may not see it now, but God is working behind the scenes, turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth and victory. When faced with life's most daunting challenges, it's natural to question the purpose behind our struggles. We often wonder why we must endure pain, hardship, or uncertainty. C.S. Lewis once posed a profound question: why do the righteous suffer? This question stirs within us a deep reflection on the nature of suffering and its place in our spiritual journey. Lewis, in his wisdom, suggests that suffering is not merely a test of faith, but a tool that God uses to refine our souls, much like a potter meticulously shaping clay. Imagine yourself as that clay, unformed and without direction, yet full of potential. The potter god applies pressure, not to harm but to mold, to bring forth beauty and purpose from what initially seems shapeless. Consider Moses, a man called by God to lead his people out of bondage. His journey was fraught with trials, exile, doubt, opposition, yet each obstacle was a deliberate part of God's plan. Moses didn't see the full picture, he only saw the desert before him. However, God saw the promised land beyond the desert. Moses' struggles were not random acts of misfortune, but were divinely orchestrated steps towards his destiny. Lewis reminds us that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Through Moses' story, we see that God uses trials to awaken us to a higher purpose, to shake us from complacency, and to direct us towards the fulfillment of his divine will. The trials you face today may feel overwhelming, as though you are being crushed under the weight of life's pressures. But what if these very pressures are God's way of preparing you for something greater? What if, in the heat of your current struggles, you are being refined like gold in a furnace, with each difficulty purging impurities and revealing your true worth? Lewis encourages us to trust in God's hand, even when it feels heavy. He writes, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny." Reflect on this. Could your present challenges be the crucible in which your extraordinary destiny is being forged? As you navigate the uncertainties and pains of life, remember that God's perspective is far broader than ours. He sees not just the trials but the triumphs that will follow. He sees the potential in you, just as he saw in Moses. While we may not always understand the reasons for our suffering, we can find solace in knowing that God is at work, molding us, shaping us, and leading us toward the future he has meticulously planned. Trust in his process, for it is through this process that our true value is revealed, not just for our own good, but for the good of many. Reflecting on your life, have you ever wondered why the trials seem unrelenting, as though you are constantly targeted? What if these challenges aren't mere coincidences but are intricately woven into your destiny? C.S. Lewis, in his reflections on suffering, suggests that pain is often the megaphone God uses to rouse a deaf world. Lewis's insights help us realize that our adversities might be signals of our true purpose, recognized by the enemy even before we can fully grasp it ourselves. The enemy's recognition of our potential often predates our own understanding of it. This awareness can manifest as relentless attacks meant to discourage and derail us. However, have you considered that these hardships might be indicators of a greater calling? Like an artist chiseling away at a rough stone to reveal a masterpiece, God uses adversity to shape us into leaders and creators of great stories. What if the very struggles you face are refining you for a purpose that's far greater than you can imagine? Lewis reminds us in Mere Christianity that God is the only comfort. He is also the supreme terror, the thing we most need, and the thing we most want to hide from. This paradoxical relationship with suffering and divine purpose reveals that our greatest challenges are often our most significant opportunities for growth. Romans 5 verse 3-5 illustrates this beautifully. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. When you look at a tree bending under the weight of a storm, do you see it breaking, or do you see its roots digging deeper, anchoring it more firmly into the soil? In the same way, the storms of life, recognized by our adversary, are meant to test our foundation and strengthen our resolve. Every setback is not a sign of defeat, but an invitation to develop resilience, deepen our roots, and grow into the leaders we are meant to be. So, ask yourself, are you viewing your trials as meaningless obstacles, or as the very tools God is using to craft your destiny? Could it be that the enemy sees in you a potential that even you have yet to recognize? Embrace these challenges, knowing that they are not random acts of misfortune, but deliberate steps towards the fulfillment of your God-given purpose. Life's trials and challenges are not merely obstacles, but opportunities designed to shape us into the individuals we are meant to become. Much like how gold is refined in the furnace to remove impurities and reveal its true brilliance, our hardships serve to purify our character and strengthen our spirit. Have you ever considered that your greatest struggles might be the very catalyst for your spiritual awakening? C.S. Lewis once said, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny." These words echo the profound truth that our battles are not without purpose. In the story of Joseph, he endured years of suffering and betrayal, believing that his life would be spent in bondage. Yet, in the midst of his darkest hours, God orchestrated a divine intervention, elevating him from a prisoner to the second most powerful man in Egypt. Joseph's journey teaches us that God's plans are far greater than our understanding. What if the very trial you are facing today is the pathway to the extraordinary future God has prepared for you? Reflect for a moment, what does it truly mean when you face overwhelming challenges? C.S. Lewis, in his profound wisdom, suggests that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Have you ever considered that your greatest struggles might be God's way of refining you for an extraordinary purpose? The enemy wouldn't wage such intense warfare against you if you weren't on the brink of something remarkable. These battles, though daunting, are not signs of defeat, but markers of the divine potential within you, potential that the adversary is desperate to hinder. In these moments of trial, rather than crumbling under the weight of your circumstances, hold on to the truth that God has ordained your journey for a purpose far beyond what you can presently see. What if the very pain you're experiencing is the catalyst for the unfolding of your destiny? Imagine the closed doors that seemed so final suddenly opening, revealing blessings that exceed your wildest prayers. This isn't mere wishful thinking, it's the reality of being chosen by God for a path that leads to greatness. Lewis also reminds us that to be a Christian means to forgive the inexcusable, because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. What if, in the midst of your struggle, you are being called to rise above the pain and find the strength to forgive, to love, and to press on? Now, consider the words of Romans 8 verse 18. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. These sufferings are not without purpose, they are the soil in which your future victory is planted. So, do not let despair take root in your heart. Lift your head and see beyond the immediate pain, for what lies ahead is far more glorious than you can imagine. You are more than a conqueror, not because of your strength, but because of the strength that God imparts to you. The extraordinary is not just near, it is already unfolding in your life, even now, as God sets the stage for a victory that will leave you amazed and filled with awe. The question remains, will you trust in this divine process, even when the way is unclear? Consider this: if our lives were devoid of value, if we had nothing precious within us, would the forces of evil bother to assail us? Lewis's insights urge us to reflect on the nature of our battles. He suggests that the greater the resistance we face, the more significant the purpose God has for us. The devil doesn't waste his time on empty vessels, he targets those who carry divine potential. This understanding transforms our perspective on adversity. Instead of seeing hardships as mere obstacles, we begin to recognize them as confirmations of our worth in God's plan. The pain we endure is a signpost pointing to the special plans God has laid out for us. Lewis writes, "God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." Thus, the intensity of our struggles is not a sign of abandonment, but of preparation for something greater. In these moments of trial, our faith is not only tested but refined. We emerge stronger, not because we avoid difficulties, but because we face them head-on with the assurance that God is with us. This is the essence of being more than a conqueror, not through the absence of conflict, but through the power and presence of God within us, enabling us to persevere. As we navigate these challenges, we must ask ourselves, what is God preparing me for? How can I see these struggles as part of His divine plan? C.S. Lewis reminds us that the pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. Our hardships, then, are not in vain. They are the crucible in which our faith and character are forged, readying us for the extraordinary destiny that God has in store. Through resistance and perseverance, with God as our guide, we will overcome every obstacle, for we are not alone in this journey. Imagine for a moment the life of a sculptor standing before a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it appears lifeless, unyielding, a mere stone. But the sculptor sees potential, a masterpiece hidden within. Every strike of the chisel, though seemingly harsh, is a deliberate action to reveal the beauty within. In much the same way, life's trials are the chisels that shape our character. We often find ourselves questioning, why must I endure this hardship? Yet, as C.S. Lewis poignantly observed, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. Consider how this perspective shifts your understanding of pain and difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as mere obstacles, could they be the tools that refine and prepare us for a future filled with purpose and significance? The athlete's rigorous training is akin to this process, where each struggle and strain serves not as a hindrance, but as a vital step toward victory. Similarly, our personal challenges are not just random occurrences but intentional preparations, sculpting us into the individuals capable of achieving the extraordinary. In embracing this process, we begin to see the hand of the master sculptor at work, fashioning us into something far greater than we could ever imagine. How different might our lives be if we viewed every challenge as a step closer to the fulfillment of our divine purpose? In our journey through life, we often encounter times when the weight of our burden seems unbearable, moments when it feels like life is closing in on us, and the pressure is too intense to bear. But could it be that these very moments are the refining fire through which God is preparing us for something far greater? C.S. Lewis once observed that hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. This reflection invites us to consider whether the trials we face are not signs of failure, but rather the divine chisel shaping us for our destined purpose. Imagine, if you will, the story of Moses in the book of Exodus, a tale not just of survival but of divine orchestration. An innocent baby, seemingly left at the mercy of the Nile's treacherous currents, is placed in a humble basket, vulnerable and alone. But was he truly alone? Or was he under the watchful eye of a higher power, guiding his every movement, ensuring that the very waters that could have swallowed him instead carried him towards his destiny? In Exodus 2 verse 3-4, it is written, when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off, to wit what would be done to him. This seemingly precarious situation was, in fact, the start of Moses' journey to becoming a deliverer of nations, a reminder that God often uses our most vulnerable moments to lead us to our greatest purpose. C.S. Lewis, in his wisdom, once remarked, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny." Could it be that the trials we face, much like Moses floating down the Nile, are not simply obstacles but divinely placed steps leading us towards a greater calling? When life compresses us, when the weight of our struggles feels unbearable, we are not being crushed but rather, like a spring, being readied for a powerful release. Lewis also insightfully noted, "God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." Could it be that these pains, these pressures, are God's megaphone, calling us to rise above our circumstances and embrace the destiny he has laid out for us? In those moments of intense pressure, when it seems as though the world is closing in, the story of Moses reminds us that we are not abandoned. Just as Moses was guided safely down the river to a future he could never have imagined, so too are we being guided through our trials. The key lies in our perception. Will we see these challenges as insurmountable, or will we recognize them as the birth pangs of our future greatness? Will you, like Moses, trust in the process, believing that every difficulty is a stepping stone to something extraordinary? The decision lies in our hands. Will we succumb to despair, or will we rise, propelled by faith, towards the extraordinary future God has prepared for us? In moments of adversity, we often struggle to find the strength to persevere. Yet, as C.S. Lewis once wrote, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. This thought echoes the profound message found in James 1 verse 2-3, which encourages us to embrace our trials as opportunities for growth. Why, then, do we resist these moments of testing? Could it be that deep within, we fear the very transformation that these trials bring? We must remember that every challenge we face is not a sign of defeat, but rather a testament to our resilience and our divine worth. As you navigate these tough times, consider how these experiences shape you into the person God intends you to be. Do you see your challenges as opportunities to deepen your faith? Lewis argued that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Perhaps the pressure you feel is God's way of preparing you for a victory greater than you can imagine. Instead of viewing your struggles as setbacks, consider them as God's hands molding you into a conqueror, someone destined for a glorious future. This perspective shift can ignite a new enthusiasm within you, reinforcing the truth that God's work in your life is just beginning. Do you truly believe that you are more than a conqueror, that great things are unfolding in your life? If so, let this belief manifest in your actions. Right now, in this very moment, raise your hands and offer praise to God for the victory He is preparing for you. Write down today's affirmation: a great victory from God is manifesting in my life. Engage with this declaration, knowing that it holds power in both the spiritual and physical realms. As we conclude, I invite you to consecrate a glass of water, a symbol of the blessings you seek. In our prayer, we will ask God to infuse this water with healing, deliverance, and the miracles you need. Remember, God knows your heart's deepest desires, and through faith, these blessings will manifest in your life. Also, consider the impact of sharing this prayer with others. Your simple act of liking and sharing can help spread God's word and bring comfort to those in need. Let us unite in faith, knowing that God's extraordinary work is beginning in our lives today. Imagine the soul that has been searching, longing for a breakthrough, and wrestling with the weight of life's challenges. Have you ever felt that your prayers are whispered into the void, unsure if they are heard? What if, in this very moment, you are standing on the cusp of a divine encounter, a moment God has meticulously ordained for you to step into His abundant favor and power? This isn't just about receiving blessings, it's about transforming your life, aligning it with the divine purpose that has been intricately woven into your being since the dawn of time. C.S. Lewis once reflected, God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is His megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Could it be that your struggles are not mere obstacles, but divine megaphones calling you to awaken to a deeper reality? What if these trials are the very instruments God is using to carve out a path to your promised land? A land flowing with spiritual and material abundance. I urge you to think about the purpose of your existence. Lewis often spoke of the weight of glory, the immense significance of our lives as seen through the eyes of eternity. What if your current situation, no matter how bleak, is a necessary chapter in a story far greater than you can imagine? The enemy may have placed barriers in your path, yet remember this: these are not signs of defeat, but opportunities for God to demonstrate His unmatched power and your inherent worth. As you subscribe to this journey of faith, yes, as simple as clicking a button, you are not just receiving notifications, you are positioning yourself to hear God's voice daily, to be enveloped in His wisdom and guided by His Spirit. Each prayer you join becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of faith, destined to yield a harvest of miracles and breakthroughs. Let us pause and lift our voices in prayer, not merely as an act of routine, but as a powerful declaration of faith. Lord, in your mighty name, we enter into your presence, standing in the gap for those who have joined us in faith. We believe that every word spoken today will be fulfilled in their lives. May they walk in your divine favor, experiencing your blessings in every area of their lives: finances, health, relationships, and beyond. In moments when life's trials seem unbearable, C.S. Lewis reminds us of the profound truth that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Consider this: what if the very challenges you're facing now are not signs of defeat but of divine preparation? What if every tear that falls is not just sorrow, but the watering of seeds planted for a future harvest? Your journey through hardship is not in vain. Much like the Israelites wandering the desert, the wilderness you walk through today is leading you to the promised land. It's in these difficult moments that God is crafting your story of triumph. Every setback, every closed door, is paving the way for the open gates of opportunity that lie ahead. When Lewis speaks of the Shadowlands, he illustrates our current struggles as mere shadows compared to the overwhelming light of joy that awaits us. This is your Shadowland moment, but take heart, dawn is coming. The night of your suffering is almost over, and the morning will bring with it a victory so great it will eclipse all past pain. Ask yourself, are you ready to move forward? Can you declare with conviction, I trust in God's plan, even when I cannot see the full picture? This is more than a mere statement, it's an act of faith, a proclamation that aligns your will with God's, unlocking the blessings he has stored up for you. C.S. Lewis also emphasized the importance of fellowship, urging us to walk together on the road that leads us home. As you reach out and share this message of hope with others, imagine the ripple effect of God's love expanding through the lives you touch. Just as Lewis believed that we are never meant to walk this path alone, your act of sharing becomes a vessel for multiplied blessings, bringing healing not just to you, but to all who hear it. As you take in this message, feel the gentle yet powerful presence of God enveloping you. It's not just a feeling, it's the reality of his unwavering love. The same love that Lewis described as the love that moves the sun and the other stars. In this embrace, know that your season of harvest is dawning. What was once a barren field will soon overflow with abundance. The doors that were once firmly shut will swing open, revealing opportunities beyond your wildest dreams. Today marks the beginning of something new, something extraordinary. Are you ready to receive it? If this message resonates with you, write "I believe" as a testament to your faith. May God's protection and blessings be upon you and your family, now and forever. Amen.